Pierre Dubois, a man who once struck fear into Europe's media politicians and investors. But when a corruption investigation closed in, he made a bold move inviting Princess Catherine and her family for a vacation on his private yacht. Why one photo of her he believed could restore his empire. His perfect plan had just one flaw. Catherine wasn't naive. When she uncovered his trap, she didn't scream. She wrote a message calm, precise, and devastating enough to torch his entire career. The August sun cast golden patches across the Côte d'Azur, where white cliffs cradled emerald waters. From his hilltop villa, Pierre Dubois gazed at the sea, his eyes sharp as a blade. He stood there, one hand clutching a glass of cognac, the other gripping a phone, the last tether to his crumbling world of power. This villa, with its Picasso paintings and Italian marble floors, once symbolized his invincibility. Now it felt like a besieged fortress. Pierre Dubois, 53, had been Europe's media nightmare. His empire spanned Paris tabloids, Monaco's glittering ports, London skyscrapers, and Dubai's lavish hotels. They called him the king without a throne, not for a title, but for how he made politicians beg for favors. Celebrities tremble at his exposés, and investors pour millions with a nod. But now his throne was crumbling. 3 weeks ago, a German newspaper leaked emails revealing Dubois bribed a Belgian minister for a port contract. Within days, an offshore account in the Caymans, stuffed with enough cash to buy an island, was exposed. The EU, long irritated by his influence, launched a criminal investigation. Investors pulled funds. Old allies, once loyal over lavish dinners, went silent. He was no longer a king. He was prey. But Pierre Dubois didn't surrender. He'd never lost, and he wasn't starting now. "If I can't clear my name with power," he muttered, his voice low like waves on rock, "I'll use a symbol." He turned, striding through the opulent hallway mirrors, reflecting a man still magnetic, salt and pepper hair, neatly combed, a navy suit tailored to perfection, and a sly half-smile. He paused at a photo on the wall, himself on the deck of L'Étoile d'Or, the Mediterranean's most luxurious yacht with Greece's misty mountains behind. L'Étoile d'Or wasn't just a yacht, it was a stage for billion-dollar deals, whispered secrets and reputations, built or broken. Today, L'Étoile d'Or would be his final gambit. In the grand meeting room, sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows onto a walnut table where 12 people sat in tense silence. They were Dubois' elite, a razor-eyed PR director, a top Paris lawyer, a London media strategist, and a young hacker nicknamed Fox who could breach any system for the right price. The air was heavy, as if everyone sensed the line between glory and ruin. Dubois entered, no greetings, no pleasantries. He set his cognac down the glass, clinking sharply against wood. "We have one chance," he said, his voice low but commanding, like a general before a final battle. "One chance to take it all back." He pressed a remote. A large screen lit up, showing a woman, glossy brown hair, a gentle but resolute smile, and sea-blue eyes. Princess Catherine of Wales, photographed at a charity event in a simple blue dress that radiated regal grace. Under the flashbulb, she was a living icon, not just of the British monarchy, but of trust and kindness. "I don't need the royals," Dubois said, his gaze sweeping the room. "I need her image." A few shifted uncomfortably, but no one dared speak. They knew the plan was insane, but they also knew Dubois never joked about what he wanted. The PR director, a middle-aged woman with meticulously dyed blonde hair, spoke first. "Sir, the princess isn't easily approached. She's just finished cancer treatment. The royals are guarded. How do we—" "That's why you're here." Marianne Dubois cut in, his voice soft but sharp as a knife. "To make the impossible possible." He laid out the plan, each word a calculated move. L'Étoile d'Or would be the stage. An invitation would go to Kensington Palace, offering Catherine, Prince William, and their 3 children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, a 7-day private vacation. No press, no strings, just a gift for the princess to recover after her illness. But Dubois didn't do charity. He wanted one photo, just one, of Catherine on the deck, smiling with her family. L'Étoile d'Or's logo, faintly visible. The photo would be leaked artfully enough for major papers to proclaim that Dubois, despite the scandals, was still a friend of royalty. He'd be the generous, trustworthy man again. He'd rise from the ashes. "She's the key," Dubois said, pointing at Catherine's image. "This woman isn't just a princess. She's perfection incarnate." One smile from her, and Europe will forget what the papers say about me. Fox, the lanky hacker with round glasses, smirked. And if she says no, Dubois' smile was that of a man who'd planned every move. She won't. No one refuses a gift wrapped in gold. As the meeting ended, dusk settled. Dubois stood alone on the balcony, gazing at l'Etoile docked in the distant harbor. He sipped his cognac, its bitterness spreading on his tongue. He knew the risks. The British royals weren't greedy politicians or Bible celebrities. But he also knew Catherine, the woman who just survived a cancer storm, returning to the spotlight with a flawless smile. She was tired, she needed rest, and she'd see his invitation as an escape. He dialed a number. A deferential voice answered, "Sir." The letter Dubois said, eyes fixed on the twinkling yacht. "Make it perfect. I want her to feel this isn't an invitation. It's a gift from fate." He hung up smiling. Pierre Dubois' final battle had begun. Kensington Palace on an August morning held a rare calm. Sunlight filtered through tall windows, warming the polished wood floors of Catherine's private sitting room. She sat at a tea table, a steaming cup of Earl Grey before her, its bergamot scent mingling with the tranquil air. But her blue eyes, though gentle, carried a trace of fatigue, the lingering mark of months battling cancer. Now, with doctors declaring her well-royal life, pulled her back into its relentless world charity events, speeches, and the public's watchful gaze. A knock came. Ella, Catherine's media assistant, entered, her brown hair neatly tied, her professional smile in place. In her hands was a small, intricately carved wooden box, its wave-like patterns gleaming. "Your Highness, a gift has arrived," Ella said. "It's from France with a letter." Catherine raised an eyebrow, glancing at the box. From whom, she asked, her voice calm, but edged with caution. After over a decade as a royal, she'd learned no gift was truly free. Ella set the box on the table and opened it. Inside was an envelope of thick cream paper, its edges embroidered with shimmering gold thread. Catherine's name was handwritten in black ink, the script flowing like art. "It's from Pierre Dubois," Ella said, hesitating. "He's a French businessman, owner of the yacht l'Etoile d'Or." Catherine tilted her head, searching her memory. Pierre Dubois wasn't unfamiliar. She'd overheard his name in William's hushed talks with advisors, often with shakes of the head. A media tycoon, powerful but tainted by scandal. Lately, the press had linked him to bribery, secret accounts, and EU threats. So why was he writing to her? She lifted the envelope, feeling the paper's weight and craftsmanship. It felt like a gift, but her instincts whispered it was more a hook cloaked in elegance. She opened it, her eyes scanning the polished English, "Dear Princess of Wales. I am Pierre Dubois, a distant admirer of your Highness's resilience and compassion. After the trials you have overcome, I humbly offer you and your family a 7-day retreat on the yacht l'Etoile d'Or, where privacy is absolutely guaranteed. No press, no obligations, just a gift to help you find peace with your loved ones. I hope you will consider. Yours sincerely, Pierre Dubois." Catherine finished folding the letter neatly. Dubois' words were smooth, warm, but too perfect, like a speech crafted by a team. She glanced at Ella, who awaited her reaction. "What does he want?" Catherine asked, her voice low but sharp. Ella shrugged lightly. "On the surface, it's a generous gesture, Your Highness. L'Etoile d'Or is the most luxurious yacht in the Mediterranean. A trip like this would be ideal, especially after—" She trailed off, avoiding mention of Catherine's illness. Catherine smiled faintly, understanding Ella's intent. And if she were honest, the offer tempted her. 7 days at sea, no cameras, no schedules, just her William, and the kids George with his endless questions, Charlotte's radiant smile, Louis's warm hugs. She pictured them on the deck, sea breeze and their hair waves lulling like a lullaby. After months of hospitals, chemo, and sleepless nights, the thought of such a haven stirred her heart. But then she thought of Pierre Dubois, a man who did nothing without purpose. She looked at the wooden box, seeing it now, not as a gift, but as a lure wrapped in splendor. "Ella," she said, her voice soft but firm, "dig deeper on Dubois. I want to know why he's reaching out now." Ella nodded, jotting a note. "Yes, Your Highness. I'll coordinate with security and media teams to investigate." In Catherine's mind, a quiet voice whispered, "Be careful, Kate. No one gives without expecting something back. Meanwhile, in a lavish Paris office, Pierre Dubois sat at his desk, eyes locked on a computer screen. It displayed a detailed report on Catherine, her schedule, recent charity events, even the heartfelt speech she gave at a children's hospital. He smiled, pleased with his team's thoroughness. "She'll say yes," he told Marianne, the PR director, who stood nearby with a coffee in hand. "Are you sure?" Marianne asked, skeptical. "The royals aren't easily swayed, and the princess, she's not naive." Dubois chuckled, a dry sound like gravel. "No one's swaying her, Marianne. We're just offering what she needs, an escape. And when she steps onto l'Etoile d'Or, the world will see Pierre Dubois isn't a loser." He stood gazing out at the sparkling Seine. In his mind, Catherine's smile on the yacht's deck was already real. One photo, one moment, and he'd reclaim everything. At Monte Carlo's harbor, l'Etoile d'Or gleamed like a giant jewel under the Mediterranean sun. Over 100 meters long, its white hull accented with gold trim, the yacht wasn't just transport, it was a statement of power. Its decks were a floating palace, glossy teak floors, velvet-upholstered armchairs, and an infinity pool mirroring the sky. But today, l'Etoile d'Or wasn't a retreat. It was a movie set meticulously prepped for a drama Pierre Dubois believed would save his empire. In the yacht's control room, Dubois stood amid technicians, his icy gaze flicking across surveillance screens. He wore a light gray suit shirt collar, open, exuding the ease of a man in control. But beneath it, his heart raced. In days, Kensington Palace would respond to his letter. If all went as planned, the Princess of Wales would board this ship, bringing the aura he craved. "She steps on cameras ready," Dubois muttered almost to himself. "One smile from her, and I'm reborn." Marianne, the PR director, checked a long list on her iPad. "We've tipped off 3 major outlets: Le Figaro, The Times, and Bild." She reported, her voice calculated. "They're told there'll be a leak about the princess's trip. No specifics, just enough to prep their reporters." Dubois nodded, satisfied. He didn't want press swarming that would spook the royals, but a few leaked photos, carefully staged, would spark a media frenzy. He pictured the headlines: "Pierre Dubois hosts British royals. Princess Catherine relaxes on luxury yacht." That alone would drown out the bribery and offshore account scandals. He'd be revered again, not hunted. But that was the surface. Dubois had gone further. He turned to a man in a black hoodie in the corner. "Cameras?" Dubois asked, his voice low but sharp. Fox smirked, typing rapidly on his laptop. "Done. 16 micro cameras, 4K resolution, hidden in the main cabins, dining room, and deck. No one will spot them unless they know where to look." He swiveled the screen toward Dubois, showing a crisp feed from a camera in the dining room's chandelier, capturing the glittering crystal glasses below. Dubois' smile was cold. "Good." And Netflix Marianne spoke the producers on board. "A hefty payment plus exclusive access. They'll make a documentary ostensibly about l'Etoile d'Or, but focused on you, close with the royals. They're calling it your redemption journey." Dubois laughed, a harsh sound echoing in the room. "Redemption," he repeated, savoring the word. He didn't care about the documentary. He needed a few shots. Catherine laughing with her kids, William raising a wine glass, and himself beside them, a trusted friend. Those images would erase his tarnished name. But his plan went bolder, riskier. He'd paid a fortune to an Italian paparazzo, Antonio Rossi, notorious for candid celebrity shots. "She steps on the deck, we own the rest," Rossi's message read, brimming with confidence. Meanwhile, Fox had bribed an IT staffer at Kensington Palace, a debt-ridden man named James. For a small sum, James left a backdoor in the palace's internal systems, giving Fox access to emails, schedules, and crucially the webcam on Catherine's AI styling assistant. If this worked, Dubois wouldn't just have deck photos. He'd have her private moments, enough to spin any narrative he wanted. He looked out at l'Etoile d'Or, waiting in the harbor. The web's set, he said, his voice like the sea's murmur. Now we wait for the prey. At Kensington Palace, Catherine sat in her cozy private study, lined with wooden bookshelves and family photos. On her desk lay Dubois' letter, still in its carved box. She'd read it 3 times, each time feeling an unease she couldn't name. Dubois' invitation was too perfect a siren song meant to lull her, but she wasn't one to fall for melodies. She picked up her phone and called William. He was in Norfolk prepping for a charity event, but his voice came through warm and steady. "Kate, you okay?" he asked, and she could picture his gentle smile. "I got an invitation," she said, her voice calm but hesitant, "from Pierre Dubois. He wants us to vacation on his yacht, the whole family, 7 days." William paused long enough for her to know he was thinking. "Dubois," he repeated, his tone darker. "The guy the EU's investigating? What does he want with us?" "I'm not sure," Catherine admitted, her fingers tracing the letter's edge. "But something feels off. It's too convenient." William sighed. "Kate, if you're not comfortable, we say no. We don't need a vacation bad enough to take risks." She smiled, soothed by his voice, but deep down she was torn. The idea of a week at sea where the kids could run free and she could breathe without cameras shimmered like a dream. She thought of George's whale questions, Charlotte's ship drawings, Louisa's hugs calling her the strongest mom. A trip like that could be a gift for them all. "I'll think it over," she said finally. "Ella's digging into Dubois. I want to know what game he's playing." "Okay," William said, his voice gentle but firm. "But Kate, promise me if anything feels wrong, we don't go." She nodded, though he couldn't see. "I promise." In her Kensington Palace bedroom, late afternoon light bathed the room in soft gold as Catherine stood over an open suitcase. Summer dresses were neatly folded, Louisa's favorite storybook, tucked in, a few of the kids' toys nestled beside. Each item was a piece of the vacation she'd begun to imagine, 7 days on, Leto Aldor, where she could be Kate, a mom, a wife, not the Princess of Wales. She paused, her gaze catching a deep purple dress hanging on a rack. Simple yet elegant, she'd tried it on last week, unseen by the public. She smiled faintly, picturing herself wearing it on the yacht's deck, sea breeze in her hair, as George and Charlotte bickered over binoculars. Catherine returned to her desk where her laptop was open. An email from Ella had just arrived, titled simply, "International Media Report." Before any trip, Ella sent summaries of press coverage to avoid surprises. Catherine scrolled through a piece on William's charity speech, another praising her resilience post-cancer. But one headline from Le Monde stopped her cold Princess of Wales to appear on Pierre Dubois' Yacht Leto Aldor. She frowned, clicking the link. Posted hours ago, the article detailed her upcoming trip on Leto Aldor. It praised Dubois as a generous philanthropist and suggested the trip proved his standing among elites despite his scandals. But what froze her breath was the description of her luggage, Louis's book, her lavender oil, and chillingly the purple dress she planned to wear on the deck. A chill ran down her spine. That dress had never left her fitting room. She'd tried it on once alone in front of a webcam linked to her AI stylist for the designer's feedback. Not even Ella or William knew she'd chosen it. "How did Le Monde know?" "No way," she whispered, but her voice trembled, not with fear, but with a smoldering anger. She grabbed her phone and called William. He answered instantly, his voice low and worried, as if sensing trouble across the miles. "Kate, what's wrong?" "We'll come back now," she said, her voice sharp. "Something's very wrong. I think we're being watched." 30 minutes later, the small Kensington meeting room buzzed with tension. William sat beside Catherine, his hand resting on hers, a silent anchor. Across from them was Robert, the security chief, a tall man with a stern face and eyes like knives. Ella stood in the corner, clutching her iPad, her face pale. On the table lay a printout of the Le Monde article, the purple dress mentioned, circled in red. "We've checked the systems," Robert reported, his voice steady but heavy. "There was unauthorized access to the princess's internal schedule from an anonymous overseas device. We also found the AI stylist webcam was hacked. Someone activated it remotely, recording everything." William's grip tightened, his jaw clenching. "Someone?" he asked, his voice icy. "We know who Robert, Pierre Dubois." Catherine shook her head, not in denial, but to quell her anger. She recalled Dubois' letter, its poetic polish. He'd called it a gift, but now she saw it a trap woven with invisible threads. He didn't just want her photo on the yacht. He wanted her private moments weaponized to twist public opinion. She stood walking to the window, gazing at the darkening garden. In her mind, Leto Aldor's gleam turned sinister, a ship of hidden cameras and prying eyes. She thought of her kids, George, Charlotte, Louis, and her heart tightened. How could she bring them there? "Kate," William said, his voice gentle but firm, "we don't have to do anything. We can say no right now. She turned her eyes sharp but pained. No, well, she said slowly. Saying no isn't enough. He's gone too far. He thinks he can use us, our family, to save his reputation. I won't let that happen. Robert nodded, understanding. We'll tighten security, check every device in the palace. But Your Highness, if you want to strike back, we need to act fast. Catherine looked at the article, her fingers brushing the line about the purple dress. She thought of the months fighting cancer, the nights she held her kids and promised everything would be okay. She'd beaten death, and she wouldn't let a man like Dubois threaten what she cherished. She met William's gaze, resolute. I have a letter to write. William smiled, a mix of pride and resolve. He stood, taking her hand. Do what you need, Kate. I'm right here. Catherine nodded, feeling his strength. In that moment, she wasn't the weary cancer survivor or the hunted princess. She was Catherine, mother, wife, and a warrior ready to face any foe. She turned to Ella. Prepare a press release, she said, her voice unwavering. We're not just refusing, we're exposing him. On August 10th, Kensington Palace shook the world with a statement sharp as a blade. Posted at 9 a.m. across the palace's official channels, each word was a calculated strike. Kensington Palace formally announces, the Prince and Princess of Wales decline the invitation to vacation on the yacht Dubois. We condemn all attempts to manipulate our family's image to conceal wrongdoing. Instead of power games, we call on the world to embrace true values like Tai Hafan, a charity for children with cancer, where compassion and hope triumph over schemes. We thank the public for their support and pledge to protect the truth, whatever the cost. Attached was a photo of Catherine at Tai Hafan, in a simple sweater, sitting beside a young cancer patient, their smiles radiant as sunlight. The post spread like wildfire, igniting social media and global headlines. The Guardian blared, Princess Catherine exposes manipulation plot. The New York Times called it the sharpest royal response of the century. The public's reaction was unprecedented. Within 24 hours, Tai Hafan reported over $2 million in donations, from a few pounds by Liverpool workers to thousands from philanthropists. A Cardiff mother tweeted, "My son survived thanks to Tai Hafan. Thank you, Princess, for standing for truth." A Glasgow student wrote, Dubois played dirty, but Kate showed us how to win with kindness. Online forums glowed with images of Catherine not as a princess, but as a warrior for what mattered. In Paris, in his opulent office by the Seine, Pierre Dubois sat frozen, his face ashen. On his screen, Catherine's statement burned, each word a dagger, shredding his empire. He'd planned everything: hidden cameras, paparazzi, subtle leaks. But he hadn't expected her to fight back, and with a blow that turned the world against him. He rushed out a PR statement, its tone hollow. We respect the princess's consideration and her decision. But the ploy collapsed instantly. A Le Figaro investigative reporter released internal emails from Dubois' team exposing the Dubois scheme, from cameras and chandeliers to a secret Netflix deal. One email from Dubois himself read, "One photo of her, and we erase every accusation." The media pounced like wolves scenting blood. Le Monde had dubbed Dubois the Icarus of the Instagram age, burned by his own hubris. Major investors, from London funds to Dubai tycoons, pulled out of his projects. French tax authorities, long eyeing him, relaunched their probe with unprecedented speed, summoning his lawyers that night. At Monte Carlo's harbor, L'Étoile d'Or floated alone, its white hull now a ghostly shell. Crew members, once proud to serve on the Mediterranean's grandest yacht, slipped away. No one dared touch the scandal-cursed ship. It bobbed silently on the waves, its golden logo a mocking symbol of collapse. The afternoon in Kensington Gardens was like a painting, with soft sunlight filtering through oak leaves, dappling the paths in golden flecks. A gentle breeze carried the scent of fresh-cut grass and chirping birds. Catherine, Princess of Wales, walked slowly, her left hand holding Charlotte's, her right, guiding George, while Louis skipped ahead, clutching his favorite red ball. William walked beside her, his eyes flicking to the kids, his warm smile masking the recent strain. Just days ago, Kensington Palace's statement had rocked the world, exposing Pierre Dubois and sparking a wave of support for Tai Hafan. £2 million had poured in, and Catherine's name became a symbol of courage, not just to the public, but across global headlines. But today, in this serene park, she wasn't a princess. She was Kate mom wife and the woman who'd chosen to protect her family. George, his brown hair tousled and eyes curious, tugged her hand. Mom, he asked, his voice clear but earnest. Why didn't we go on that ship? If someone wanted to help, why not say yes? Catherine paused, her heart stirring. She knelt, meeting George's eyes, her gaze gentle but unflinching. She knew his question wasn't just childlike curiosity. It was a chance to teach him and Charlotte and Louis a lesson she'd learned through years of flashbulbs and hidden traps. George, she began, her voice steady and clear. Sometimes people offer a gift, but it's not to help you. It's a trap, like in chess when your opponent tricks you into a bad move. Real help comes from the heart, expecting nothing back. But manipulation, that's when someone wants to use you to get what they want. George frowned, processing. Like, they pretend to be nice to take something. She smiled, nodding. Exactly. The man who invited us didn't want to help our family. He wanted to use our pictures to make people forget the wrong things he did. I couldn't let that happen because it's not fair to us or to the people who trust us. Charlotte beside her squeezed her mom's hand. With her long hair tied in a pink ribbon and bright eyes, she spoke, her voice small but firm. I'm proud you said no, Mom. You didn't let them trick you. Catherine turned to Charlotte, her heart warming. She brushed her daughter's hair, feeling pride mixed with duty. Thank you, Charlotte, she said, her voice softly trembling. I just want to teach you all that. Sometimes saying no is the strongest way to stand up for what's right. Louis, hugging his ball, looked up, his big eyes nodding, though not fully grasping. You're awesome, Mom, he chirped, and the family laughed, their joy echoing in the green expanse. William, silent until now, rested a hand on Catherine's shoulder, his eyes shining with understanding. He didn't need words, his touch said everything. They walked on under ancient oaks, sunlight piercing the leaves, casting dancing spots on the path. Catherine held Charlotte in George's hands, Louis bounding ahead, his shadow a small bird on the grass. The breeze carried summer's breath, and in that moment the world's noise-pressed scandals, plots faded. All that remained was family love, and the simple, profound lesson Catherine had passed on. A tycoon thought he could buy a crown with money, but this woman taught her children and the world that true value lies not in what you take, but in what you refuse. Support this story by liking, sharing with friends, and subscribing for more episodes.